Downsizing isn't just about moving into a smaller space. It is actually about freeing up your lifestyle, your finances, and having that peace of mind. It is not something you can just figure out as you go. You need to have a clear path for selling, for buying, and transitioning so that it doesn't turn into a stressful nightmare. If you don't plan it well, you risk paying two mortgages at the same time, or you may have one home close much earlier than the other one. Then you have a period where you don't know where to live, stuff like that. It can give you a lot of unexpected costs, really mess up your budget. So it is something you really need to plan it out carefully. And today we're going to go through a few points to make sure that your downsizing is well planned and you can go through the process very smoothly and without too much stress. Hi, I'm Nigel Wong. I'm a real estate agent here in the Greater Toronto area, focusing in Markham and all of York region. And today we will go through the downsizing process, some of the thought process that we have to go through, some of the planning that we'll go through, different criteria you have to figure out. So without further ado, let's get into it. So one of the very first things that you usually have to consider is whether you have to buy first or sell first. And there are a few factors you need to consider. The pros of selling first, obviously, as you know exactly how much money you have to work with when you downsize, and then less risk of carrying two mortgages at the same time. However, for some of our clients, I would actually encourage them to buy first. First of all, they may be on very solid financial ground, like they have a lot of money, they don't care, they can actually afford to buy another property first. And also, I would suggest them to buy first if the home that they're looking for, they're very particular in terms of the home they're looking for. Downsizing, they're very specific criteria. The layout has to be very specific. In that scenario, it is actually better for us to buy first for these type of clients. There are actually different financing tools that is able to help us to navigate this process. Let's say you already sold your home and then you have already bought a new home, but there's a little gap between the closing dates. You may leverage something called a bridge loan to bridge that gap so that you can have that loan to pay for the new home first while you wait for your own home to be sold. Another option is a unique option is if you're 55 and above, there may be an option for you where you can look into reverse mortgage, where you can actually get a loan where you don't have to do a monthly payment. So that will really help you out. If you are interested in finding more about reverse mortgage, definitely reach out to me. I actually have another video that talk about that right here. So recently I've done a transaction that's quite unique. My clients have already sold their home. The closing date is actually earlier than the closing date of the new home that they have bought. So meaning that there's a slight gap between when they have to move out of the house and when the new home is available. But we did something very creative. We worked out a deal with the seller of the condo that we are going to lease their property for a month to bridge that gap, and that worked out for everybody. Another factor that you should consider is in terms of the market condition. So for example, in the Greater Toronto area right now, one of the very unique situation is we are in a buyer's market, especially for condos. So let's say if you're looking to move into a condo and you own a bigger home in a very popular area like Richmond Hill or Markham, one thing you can do is if you see a condo that you really like and it's been sitting on the market for a while now, you can actually reach out to them and say, hey, we really like your condo. We haven't sold our home yet, but we can actually offer you to buy your home, but we're going to put it in condition that is subject to the sale of our current home. So this way, you actually have more time to sell your home, and then you don't have to worry about your home it's not sold in time before the closing of the new home that you're buying. Or you can say, hey, we really like your home, but we need to have a longer closing date so we can sell your home. Just basically, right now, if you're trying to buy a condo, you have a lot more negotiating power. They are more likely to accept this type of condition where before, when the market is really hot, it's very unlikely that they would accept. Now, another thing you need to pay attention to is in terms of how to arrange for a very smooth transition. let's say if you're preparing to sell your home, there are lots of things you need to consider. You have to look at the things that you need to throw out. You have to think about, hey, I'm actually moving into a much smaller home. These are things that I cannot keep. It can be a long process, and it is not as easy as you think, because a lot of the things that you own, you may have a lot of emotional attachment to it, and it is very hard for you to let go of it. So definitely plan it out, declutter, try to throw out the things that you don't need. And then also, once you clear out the things in terms of the home, what things you need to do in terms of renovating it a little bit, give it a fresh coat of paint that can usually give it the most bang for your bucks in terms of increasing the appeal of the home. Lighting is another thing that's very important, adding some pot lights that would really brighten up the home, stuff like that. But all of that, you really need to have some professional consultation in terms of planning out, hey, when should you do this? When should you do that? When should you start looking for the new home? Or when should you already start, putting the words out saying that this home might be available soon, leveraging a realtor's private network. You may be able to find a buyer through the realtor's private network. Yeah, so there's something for you to consider as well. If there's some gap in the closing date, for example, let's say the home that you currently own close earlier than the new home is available. So there are different methods that we can do to kind of leverage that, rectify that situation. As I mentioned, that we can arrange for a short-term lease with the seller if they're willing, if they're okay to do so. If not, we can look into different like short-term rentals to kind of tie you over, or if you have friends or family that can stay over for a short period of time. All that kind of things needs to be planned earlier so that you're not scrambling when that's happening. Obviously, the moving services is quite important as well. Here with our Elite Soul team, we have connections with the best movers in the business, so definitely we'll take care of you as well. So one thing I personally like to do a lot is to actually have a calendar in terms of events that's happening with the downsizing. So basically the buying and the selling, how everything's aligned together. That can really shows you how exactly things will line up as we go through the process so that we don't miss anything as we go through. So we briefly talked about financing option, right? So I would like to go into a little bit more details in terms of financing options. Let's say if you need to have a bridge loan, or if you need to have leverage a reverse mortgage. So if you're 55 and above, there's a product, it's called reverse mortgage. So basically what it means is it is very similar to a HELOC, like home equity line of credit. But the difference is for line of credit, you have to make a monthly payment of the interest. For reverse mortgage, you actually don't have to make any payment. There's obviously a cash. The interest rate is obviously higher. It is usually about 1% higher than the regular line of credit. But the good thing is you don't have to make that monthly payment. If you're tight financially, there may be a better option for you. Or you can go more traditional way, look into HELOC or some financing for bridge loan. And then that kind of option would help you out in terms of if there's a slight gap in the closing date. One thing I would like to mention that here in Elite Soul, Elite Soul Group, we partner with some of the best mortgage companies here in the GTA. Definitely reach out to us. We'll be able to connect you with the best financing help available. Now, for the people who are downsizing, but they don't have to do it right away, but they like to plan it out, like maybe I want to downsize in the next year or two, one option available to you would be look at different pre-construction options. So obviously, right now, pre-construction condos is much easier to buy now. The builders have a lot more incentives because the market is not as hot as before. There are actually a lot default units that the previous buyer was not able to close. Those units are available directly from the builder at a huge discount, and they don't advertise it that much. They don't like to let people know that these are default units, so they usually try to sell it very discreetly through agents, through the agents that they trust. And here in Elite Soul Group, we actually have access to a lot of these different type of condos that is being sold by the builder that's previously defaulted. So if you're interested in that kind of deals, definitely reach out to us. We'll be able to connect you with this type of great deals. Another advantage of buying a pre-construction homes as you downsize is you have a much longer time to kind of plan it out. You don't have to worry about, hey, I don't have enough time to sell your home, because you actually have a much longer time period to sell your home. The only catch is sometimes the closing date, they can they can have delays, and then that will potentially make your planning a little bit harder. So another catch of buying pre-construction homes is about the closing costs. What kind of development charges you have to pay? Do you have to pay an interim occupancy fee? Stuff like that. Actually, that's a completely different topic. I will probably make another video just talk about closing on pre-construction homes. I actually recently have handpicked a few pre-construction projects in Richmond Hill, in Markham, different areas that is perfect for downsizing. If you're interested in that, definitely reach out to me. I'll be able to give you that list. If you're still here with me at this point in the video, I really want to thank you. Downsizing is really about smart planning, using the market to your advantage, and creating a lifestyle that fits your next chapter of your life. If you're interested, please book a consultation session with me. You can use the link below. There's a Calendly link in the description. Book a consultation session with me. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.